Bird dog fat, you thought the name was right. From what? Yeah, from Vietnam. Got a lot of 300 plus missions in places that have no name. And he was also the voice of a lot of the shuttle missions that were launched with 5 minutes, you know, and counting. I'll let him do it. He can do it a lot better than I am, but he's got some quick demonstration for us here. So this man gets a special round of applause.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, that's my AM voice. AM. Back in the days when all the DJs looked just like this. For those I have not had the pleasure to meet, I am RockyRaab. I'm from Ogden, Utah. So are these tables and chairs. They're made 5 miles from where I live, believe it or not. And this is FRH 101. I've been a ration eater since 1971 in Vietnam. I ate MCIs and lerps and monkey noodle soup and dog and water buffalo and all kinds of things. Those didn't come in rations, they just came. As a pilot, I'm used to following instructions. Now, normally instructions are a really good thing, like do not iron while wearing clothes. See? But the instructions on an FRH are not so good. But then they were written by the Army. In Vietnam, we had little portable rocket launchers, and the first instruction is point weapon at enemy. As if that was not clear enough. But that's the Army for you. Background of an FRH. An FRH is an acronym that stands for failed to really heat. They've been around since the 90s. And for some of you, this is going to be like deja vu. Deja vu is the feeling that you've heard all this bull before. FRHs contain a combination of chemicals. There's iron, magnesium, and sodium in there. It's the sodium that reacts with the water that starts all the other chemical reactions. The problem with it is that FRH plastic is not entirely impermeable, and over time water vapor gets in there and deactivates the sodium. We'll get to how you fix that later. It's a chemical process. It's basically a high-speed rust. Now, you saw all those cans that took 70 years to rust. These take about 7 minutes to rust. So it's a chemical process that's very rapidly advanced. That's why it gets hot. That's why it gets hot fast. When these work, they produce vapors that are composed of hydrogen, water vapor, and other stuff. The other stuff is not so good to breathe. If you get too close to these,
You'll start talking really funny. It's not really good for your voice.
and if you get too close with a Zippo lighter to see if they're working, the hydrogen will let you know that it is indeed working. They'll go bang. And finally, the residue that's left behind on these is not to be consumed. Don't eat this. That's where G. Schultz gets his fancy moniker. Now, let's get to the Mr. Wizard part of this. If you read the instructions on this, it says to open the top and put the food inside. Don't do that. The residue in here gets on your food, on the packets. You don't want to eat that. It gets on your fingers. You don't want that. Don't do that. Stop putting your food in the FRH. How many of you have seen guys like Sticky Fingers, and G. Schultz, and Steve, and all those guys, Gundog? The first thing they do is rip this open, pour the water in, then they try to stick things inside, and they try to fold this up, and then and they're burning their fingers. Don't do that. Don't add the water first. Add the water last. Now, you've also seen a couple of people recently take the element out, put it inside their MRE bag, put their food inside, pour in some water, and cook it this way. Now that seems like a really good idea, but the problem with that is this never gets entirely wet. The water that you put in here fills a tiny little ribbon in the bottom. This never gets wet, so the FRH never really works well. Rule number 2, don't do that. MREs generally come in or with a little sleeve. Over the years, I found a lot of different ways to cook my food, my FRH. Here's how I do it. First thing I do is put the FRH in the sleeve far enough that the water line is outside. Put the food outside the FRH. Now when you're all ready to go, Now you can add your water. It's ready to go. You can see it. All you have to do is pour it inside. How many of you have had a dud FRH? Every damn body has had a dud FRH. You know the salt trick. What I said earlier about the sodium going away because it absorbs water vapor in the bag, you can replace that sodium with salt. Doesn't take much. A couple ways to do this. You can add dry salt to the heater, but a better way is to mix the salt into your water. You can use your water bottle, and I'm going to add about 1/3 of that. Or you can pre-measure your water and salt in your bev bag. Or as I said, you can just put your dry salt in the heater bag if you don't have any of those. If you use regular water and get a dud FRH, you can add a brine solution. Now I pre-mix salt and water in a Visine bottle or anything small like this. This is just enough to get an FRH really cooking. If it's dead, add this. It's pre-mixed, it's ready to go. Let's see if we can get this going with a little salty water. Okay, there's my fill line. There's my salt water. And now I'm going to lay it flat so the pad gets really hot. It gets really wet. And it should get going before long. We'll see. I make up these bags, these little ovens. This is material that I insulated my attic with, especially made to reflect infrared energy, reflect heat. So I put my food and a bag in here. There's my pre-mixed bev bag water. Water last. These may or may not work. Oh yeah, that was cooking. I also have one of these. Nice insulated lunch bag. I unpack my MREs, take all the food out of this bag, and I take this out in the field. I cook mine in here or in one of these. And if I don't have any of that, I use this and provide something else as insulation to keep the heat in. That works really well. By the way, you can also use a strip of this and wrap this around if you don't have a towel. If you don't have this, use a towel. This is preferable, and I have plenty of this for all of you. Take a strip like this, you can wrap it around your food, or you can use a little tape and make a bag like I did. You can go home and have this. This will help with your FRHs forever. How many of you have noticed over time that the heating pad is smaller than the FRH? How many of you have had a meal heat up and be hot down here, cold up here, and cold back here? How do you fix that? Partly because you fix it partly because you did not put your food in here. It is now readily accessible to turn over. Now there are 3 ways you can turn. That's working. Let's keep this really hot. Let's assume that this is our meal inside our pouch. You can turn this 3 different ways. 2 of them are wrong. You can turn it this way, which heats the other side, but not the top. You can turn it this way, which heats the top, but not the other side. Or, if you're really smart, you pull this out and you flip it this way. This puts the cold top and the cold side against the hot side, against the hot heater. Flip them that way. That salt really works, folks. That is hot. Flip it lengthwise. Hot stuff. Damn, those are good. Wow. I think that about covers it. Do we have any questions about FRHs or how to do this? Or the right way, the wrong way, sideways, inside out? All right. I will finish by saying to Bob, in the words of Bob Hope, thanks for the MREs. Well, by the way, I never put mine on a rock or something either. I just lay them flat. They work just fine.